Hi everyone, and welcome back to 826 New Orleans Writing Channel. Just as a reminder, my name is Miss Kelsey and I run the after school program at 826 New Orleans. And if you've been following along, we have been learning different aspects of writing a fantasy story, right? So writing from our imagination and basically writing what we want to write, right? What we can imagine and what we can dream of, and putting it all into words or pictures, right? So if you remember last week, we talked about creating a magical world. So that was our setting of our story. So we wanted to really think about where were we going to be? And if you remember, I have it here. We have City Park for my story and Sweetland. And we did different pictures and we wrote a lot of different words. So today we're going to do something different. And we're going to really think about our character. What is our or multiple characters? We're going to do one together, but I would imagine that you guys would do this on your own, doing several different characters. But we really want to think about their name, what they look like, what are their fears, how old are they? We want to really think about who our character is before we start writing, right? So that's what we're going to do today. So first I'm going to share my screen, because we are going to look at my original. Oh no, it does not look like I can open up a file. Well, let's see, desktop, share, okay, and we are going to look at our original outline. So if you remember, we did our setting already, and you remember I had picked City Park and I picked Sweetland. And now today I have to pick a character to work on. So I'm imagining my character is in City Park, and I am really drawn to my swamp fairy. So I'm going to pick the swamp fairy, Miss Gardonia. Okay, so now I know that. So now I'm going to stop sharing. And I am going to start working on my character. So we are going to write up here, Miss Gardonia. So if you have just a blank piece of paper, you could just write the name at the top so you remember. Or if you're not sure of the name yet, maybe you just write like what type of character it is, right? So I know that it's Miss Gardonia. And then I also know that it's a swamp fairy, right? So I'm just going to write that so that I can remember. Swamp fairy. So now we're going to draw a picture, because I really like to use images before I start using words, right? So to really get my imagination going. So I right now only have an orange marker, so that's what I'm going to work with. We're going to see what I can do. So I am going to draw a head. I think my swamp fairy has a head, and I think my swamp fairy is going to have curly hair. I like really big hair. And then I'm going to put the eyes and the lips. We'll give it even some bangs. And then I'm going to draw its body. You know what? I'm going to give it a circular body. And then because it's a fairy, and well, because I want it to, I'm going to have it have wings. Kind of look like a butterfly. And then I'm going to have it have, you know what? I want it to have 4 legs, because why not? And also I'm going to have her have 4 arms. So technically 8 different extremities. So I'm going to put a hand. And I'm going to think, maybe is there anything else that I might want to add? I'm going to add some polka dot wings. And y'all can get as detailed as you can. And if you don't have markers, you can just use a pencil or a pen, or you can just think about these things. Like also, if you don't have the means, you can also think about it. So I'm going to put more polka dots, and I am going to give her a wand with a flower on top. So she also has a wand. Now, if you remember from my last lesson, we talked a lot about labeling. So I'm going to label this and say swamp Fairy, Miss Gardonia. And I'm also going to write magical, oops, y'all, sometimes I mess up, magical wand. Look at that, she's got a magical wand. Okay, so now that I've drawn a picture, I know what she kind of looks like. So now I'm going to think about what are some of the physical traits. So when we use the word physical traits, what we mean are what do we look like? So she is orange. Maybe she won't be orange though in the story, but it's all that I had. So I actually I like the idea of having, I like blue, orange, and green. So I'm going to say she's a mix of blue, orange, and green. She's a mix of blue, orange, and green. I'm going to say she has curly hair. And I think another important physical trait that I would probably describe in my story is that she has wings. So there's wings. And not only, you know what, I could have more detail. I'm already looking at this. I said curly hair, but I want to be very specific. It's very big, and I bet you I'll write that in my story. So big curly hair and wings. And what's also something pretty different is that there's 8. We have 8 different things. We have 4 arms and 4 legs. So I'm going to say 4 arms and 4 legs. So now I've got a little bit of a description. Now I might look and say, what are other things I could write that would really distinguish my character, right? She's got polka dot wings. So I'm going to say polka dot wings. And also I'm going to add that she has a flower wand. And you know what? She might not always have this, but she's got a smile on her face right now. So I'm going to write that she has a smile on her face because usually she's going to be pretty happy. So she smiles a lot. She smiles. Okay, so now that I've talked about some physical traits, and I might come back to that later once I think of some other things, now I'm going to move on to how my character is on the inside. Who are they as a person, right? Are they kind? Are they funny? Are they introverted and shy? Are they maybe really loud and extroverted, right? I'm going to think about that. What are their fears? What are they scared of? So Miss Gardonia lives in City Park, and she's a swamp fairy. It's part of the swampy land in City Park. Okay, really all of New Orleans is a big swamp. So how are they on the inside? So I am going to have Miss Gardonia be one of my really sweet characters. So she's going to be sweet and kind. Miss Gardonia, I think, is going to be kind of quiet and a little bit shy. So she's very, and she's very observant. So because she lives in the swamp and because she lives in the garden, she's really learned how to observe plants and people. So we're going to say she's shy and quiet and observant, right? So she's observant. And what does it mean to be observant? It means when we really pay attention, right? So when we observe our environment, when we pay attention to what's happening around us and who's around us. Now, I also think that my character is going to be something called empathetic. And we talked about this actually with my after school students right before we ended up having to quarantine at home. So what does it mean to be empathetic? So I'm going to write empathetic. It's kind of a hard word. E-M. Ooh, how do I spell it? Empathetic. P-A-T-H-E-T-I-C. Empathetic. You know what? I'm not sure if I spelled it right. And if you followed along, if you don't know how to spell a word, just squiggle it so you remember to go back to it, and I'm going to check later. So what it means to be empathetic is when you really can almost, I remember some of the students in my after school program said it's like when you do put yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? And it's not even, and it's when you really think about how the other person is feeling, and you try to also embody and feel that feeling too, so that you can have empathy for them. So it's not just sympathy when we feel bad for somebody, but when we can actually also feel it too ourselves, and when we really think about them, right? So I think my character is going to be empathetic, right? So she's a very caring, observant, loving character, right? And so she really pays attention. And she doesn't just pay attention to people, but really also plants and animals. So I'm really excited to get into that. So another thing I like to think about is like what my character is afraid of. And my character, I believe, is she's really afraid of all the green things disappearing. So my character is afraid of all the plants disappearing, which is where she lives. So not having her habitat and her home, right, where she feels safe, which is her green plants. So we're going to say all of the green, well, also not just green, so other colors, but all the green plants disappearing. You know what? I also am not sure if I spelled disappearing right, so I'm going to squiggle it. I'm going to come back to that too. And both of these words, I might go look on my bookshelf to try to find it, or I might look up my phone how to spell those words, or if I have a dictionary, I might do that. And then maybe I'll ask my roommate, or if my mother was here, I would ask my mom. So we have that they are very sweet and kind, they're shy and quiet, they're very observant and empathetic, and all of her fear is all the green plants disappearing. So I'm going to say all the green plants disappearing. So her biggest equals her biggest fear. Okay. Now maybe another thing we can think about is like, oh, well, now we're going to go to our other facts. So how old is Miss Gardonia? This is a good one. I did not thought about this. I'm going to have Miss Gardonia be, I think, 268 years. So I'm going to write 268. And because remember, we're writing a fantasy story, it doesn't have to be perfect, or it doesn't have to be what exists in the real life, right? So maybe somebody can't technically live to 268 years, but because we're writing fantasy and we're using our imagination, we can make that happen. Okay, so then we have to talk, and then we're going to talk about where does our character live. And what did I say earlier? City Park. So we're going to write lives in City Park. More particularly, she lives in a very special tree there. So we're going to say she lives in a tree. And then now I have here, maybe does your character have magical powers or superpowers? So I'm going to stick to magical powers. So maybe what are some magical powers? So one of her magical powers is that when she cries, the water is healing that comes out of her tears. So if a plant were to be dying, she could cry on it and then it will start to grow back itself. So we're going to say her tears have magical powers. Oops, have magical, and you know what? I really, to be specific, magical, and I should have said, but you know what? Since I messed up, I'm putting a caret between magical and powers and say magical healing powers, okay? So right now, she doesn't really have any, well, I guess technically her superpowers are like flying, but I'm really thinking about the magical powers, right, in this fantasy story. So Miss Gardonia, our swamp fairy, we have that she's a mix of blue, orange, and green colors, got big curly hair, because I really love big curly hair, even though my hair is slicked back. She smiles a lot. She's got 4 arms and 4 eggs. She's got polka dot wings, and she has a flower wand. She's sweet and kind. She's shy and quiet. She's observant. She's empathetic, right? That was a big word. She's all the green plants, and her fears are that all the green plants will disappear, right? That's one of her big fears, is our plants dying. Some other facts: she's 268 years old, which is very important. So that means that she's observed a lot of what has happened in the world, right? So she knows a lot of history. And she lives in City Park, and more specifically in a tree. And her magical powers, well, her tears have magical healing powers. Now, somebody might ask, well, what is that wand for? So her wand is she can grant power. She can grant one wish to people that are kind to plants, so that people that come into City Park, if they need it, she can grant them one wish if they are kind to the earth. So I'm going to say here, she grants one wish to humans that are kind to the earth. So now I have my first character, and when I go to write my story, I'm going to think about these things. And maybe sometimes I might not use everything here, but it's really important to remember those things as I write, right? To know who my character is. So, Miss Gardonia, the Swamp Fairy. If you, I might do this for more characters. For the sake of this, I'm just doing this for one character, right? But you guys can do this with as many characters as you need to. So maybe your main character, maybe not. Maybe your antagonist, which can be like the bad character, or maybe not, right? So, or just the person that's going up against the protagonist. Okay, so we're creating our characters. If you've written a cool magical story, or if you've created a magical place, or if you do create a character, you can definitely share that with us at 826 New Orleans on Instagram in our DMs, or you can email us at hello@826neworleans.org. I can't wait to see what characters you guys create, and I hope that this was helpful. I will see you next week. Bye.